The moment I almost banned my daughter's boyfriend from my house. He was standing at my kitchen trash can, smiling politely, scraping a full plate of untouched baked ziti into the garbage. Not half a plate, not a few bites, the entire thing. And he did it like he was trying not to be noticed. That was the part that got me. Because everybody noticed. My daughter noticed. I noticed. Even my sister, who misses almost everything, stopped mid-sentence and stared at him over her wine glass. He looked up, caught all of us watching, and still gave that same soft little smile. "Thank you, Ms. Bennett," he said. "It was really good." Really good. I remember gripping the edge of the counter so hard my fingers cramped. Because I had spent 4 hours making that dinner, and he had not taken a single bite. And in that exact moment, one ugly thought landed in my chest like a brick. I cannot keep doing this. My name is Nora Bennett. I was 48 that winter, a widow for 6 years, a payroll manager by day, and the kind of woman who still saves bacon grease in a jar because my mother taught me that throwing away food was almost a sin. I'm not dramatic by nature. I pay my bills on time, label leftovers, send birthday cards, and believe most family problems can be solved if people just say what they mean. What I wanted most in life wasn't glamorous. I wanted my daughter Claire to come home after college, sit at my table, laugh in my kitchen, and feel like no matter how old she got, this house still belonged to her. Claire was 21, bright, stubborn, loyal to a fault. She was in her last year of school and already talking about graduate programs and apartments and figuring things out, which is a nice way of saying she was standing at that age where your child still reaches for you, while secretly learning how to live without you. And then there was Adrian. He was 24, serious, polite, almost painfully respectful. He worked at an auto shop, wore clean boots and faded work jackets, and called me ma'am even after I asked him not to. He'd been in the US since he was 3, raised mostly by his grandmother after his mom got sick. He brought flowers on Mother's Day, remembered birthdays, opened doors, fixed my garbage disposal without being asked. If you met him for 10 minutes, you'd think he was one of the most considerate young men alive. Until food showed up. Then everything got strange. The first time I noticed it, I told myself I was imagining things. Claire had brought him over for Sunday pot roast about 3 months into their relationship. Adrian took a full plate. Not a polite spoonful. A real plate. Roast, mashed potatoes, carrots, bread. He cut the meat into tiny squares, moved the peas around with his fork, lifted his water glass 3 times, and never ate. Not once. At the end of dinner, while Claire helped me clear plates, he quietly wrapped the food in a napkin and dropped it into the kitchen trash under some paper towels. I saw it. He didn't know I saw it. I said nothing because I figured maybe he'd felt sick. Then it happened again. And again. At my birthday dinner, he ordered salmon and risotto at a restaurant Claire definitely could not afford on a student budget. He cut into it, arranged it, pushed it across the plate, and when the waiter asked if something was wrong, Adrian smiled and said, "Everything's great, thank you." The waiter looked confused. I looked furious. Claire looked terrified. That was the first time I pulled her aside. We were outside the restaurant under one of those fake little patio lanterns, and I kept my voice low because I didn't want to embarrass her. "Baby, if he doesn't want to eat, fine, but he has to stop ordering full meals." She crossed her arms immediately. "Mom, please don't start. I'm not starting. I'm being practical. He's not trying to be rude." "Then what is he trying to be?" That hit harder than I meant it to. Her face changed. Not angry at first, protective, like I had stepped too close to something sharp. "It's complicated," she said. "Then uncomplicate it." She looked back through the restaurant window. Adrian was laughing at something my brother-in-law said, smiling, calm, like none of this existed. Claire lowered her voice. "He has a real issue with eating in front of people." I blinked. "Then why does he keep taking food?" "Because not taking food is rude in his family, especially when someone cooked." I just stared at her. That explanation didn't soothe me. It made me crazier. "So his solution is to waste it?" Her jaw tightened. "You don't understand." "You're right," I said. "I don't." And that became the theme of the next 8 months. I didn't understand why he accepted every invitation to dinner. I didn't understand why Claire treated it like a sacred secret. I didn't understand why a grown man could rebuild a transmission blindfolded, but apparently couldn't say, "No, thank you, I'm not hungry." And maybe worst of all, I didn't understand why it bothered me so much. But the truth was ugly. It bothered me because I grew up with empty cabinets. My father drank. My mother stretched meals with broth and prayer. There were winters when dinner was saltines and canned peaches if we were lucky. I still remember being 11 years old and watching my little brother lick spaghetti sauce off a spoon because there wasn't enough pasta left for seconds. People who grow up like that don't see wasted food as a quirk. We see it as a slap. So every untouched dinner Adrian pushed around on a plate felt personal. Every restaurant bill felt insulting. Every "thank you, ma'am" felt like sandpaper. The breaking point came 2 weeks before Christmas. I made chicken enchiladas, rice, black beans, the whole spread. Claire had texted that they were stopping by after looking at apartments. I told myself I'd be pleasant, warm, mature. Then Adrian did it again. Full plate, tiny cuts, no bite. And when everyone got up from the table, he carried that plate to the trash. That was it. I followed Claire into the laundry room before I said something I couldn't unsay in front of everyone. "No more," I told her. She froze. "What?" "I mean it. If he comes here, he is not joining meals anymore." Her face drained. "Mom." "I'm done paying for food to watch him destroy it." "He's not destroying it to hurt you." "Then he can stop." She stepped back like I'd raised a hand. "You want me to tell the man I love that he's welcome in your house, but not at your table?" The word love hit me hard. She had never said that to me out loud before. I swallowed, but I didn't soften. "Yes," I said, "until he learns some basic respect." She stared at me for a long time, long enough for the dryer to stop tumbling behind us. Then she nodded once, not agreeing, deciding. "Okay," she said quietly. "Then we won't come for Christmas." She walked out before I could answer. For the next 12 days, my daughter barely spoke to me. No calls, short texts. No funny little pictures of her coffee or her dog, or the broken drawer in her apartment that I always meant to fix. I kept telling myself she'd calm down, that she'd realize I was right, that grown adults don't get to make their private issues everyone else's burden. Then, 3 days before Christmas, I stopped by the Italian restaurant where we'd celebrated my birthday. I was picking up a gift card for my sister, and the hostess recognized me. "Family doing okay?" she asked casually. "Fine," I said. She smiled. "That young man with your daughter is one of the sweetest customers we get." I gave a dry laugh. "Sweet, huh?" "Oh, absolutely. Always comes early to leave his card." I frowned. "His card?" "For your table. she said. He's paid for your family the last few times you came in. I just stood there. She kept talking, not realizing she'd cracked my entire opinion open with one sentence. He always says he doesn't want anyone to make a fuss, she said. We pretend the bill got mixed up. I felt my ears ring. Are you sure? I asked. She nodded. Very sure. Then she leaned in a little and lowered her voice. He also waits in his truck sometimes after dinner to eat. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. She must have seen my face because she added gently, he looks embarrassed about it, but he does eat. Just alone. I walked out of that restaurant with the gift card in one hand and shame climbing up my throat. Not because I'd been completely wrong, but because I'd only been half right. And half right can do just as much damage as fully wrong. That night I called Claire. She didn't answer. So I drove to her apartment. She opened the door with that guarded expression adult daughters get when they've decided their mother is emotionally unsafe. Why didn't you tell me he was paying? I asked. She looked past me into the dark parking lot. Because he begged me not to. I let out a breath. Claire, why is he doing all this? She hesitated. Then she said the sentence that changed everything. Because when he was 10, he almost died choking in front of 30 people. The air went still. She moved aside and let me in. Adrian wasn't there. Just Claire, standing in mismatched socks beside a sagging couch, looking exhausted. She told me the rest in pieces. Church picnic, steak too big, airway blocked, adults screaming, someone filming on a phone, kids laughing later, EMTs cutting open his shirt in the grass while he gagged and cried and everyone stared. After that, he could eat alone, maybe with one trusted person on a very good day. But a table full of people? A waiter checking in? Eyes on him? Questions? His throat would lock. His hands would shake. Sometimes he'd panic so badly he'd throw up afterward. Why didn't he just say that? I whispered. Because he's ashamed, Claire said. Because he knows it sounds irrational. Because every time people find out, they treat him like he's broken. I sat down hard on the couch. And the food at my house? She rubbed her forehead. His grandma taught him that refusing food is disrespectful. So he takes a plate to honor the person who cooked. He thinks taking it is kinder than saying no. Kinder to who? She looked at me with tears in her eyes. That's the problem, Mom. He's been trying so hard to avoid embarrassing everyone that he never noticed how much he was hurting you. That was the moment I finally understood this for what it was. Not rudeness, not manipulation. Two people standing on opposite sides of the same wound, bleeding on each other without meaning to. But understanding something doesn't erase what you said. It doesn't unsay it. And the next morning, Claire texted me that she and Adrian had been invited to spend Christmas Eve with his grandmother instead. No accusation, no drama, just information. That hurt more. Because it sounded like the beginning of a new tradition, one that didn't include me. So I did something I hadn't done enough of through this whole mess. I went straight to the person I was angry at. I drove to Adrian's shop. He was outside with the hood of an old Honda open, sleeves pushed up, hands black with grease. When he saw me, his whole body went tense. I almost backed out right there. But pride had already cost me too much. Can we talk? I asked. He wiped his hands on a rag. Yes, ma'am. Please don't call me ma'am right now. That made him blink. We stood beside that car in the cold, our breath rising between us. And for a second, I saw how young he really was. Not polished, not mysterious, just scared. I know about the choking, I said. His eyes dropped instantly. Claire shouldn't have told you. No, I said softly. Maybe she shouldn't have had to. He swallowed. I owe you an apology. His head snapped up at that. I kept going before I could lose nerve. I thought you were disrespecting me. I thought you didn't care what things cost, or what food meant in this house. I was wrong. He looked wrecked. Not relieved, wrecked. Because sometimes kindness lands hardest when someone has been bracing for cruelty. I was disrespecting you, he said quietly. Just not on purpose. I didn't answer. He stared at the pavement. When people watch me eat, I can feel my heart in my throat, he said. Even if I know I'm safe, even if I'm hungry, I tell myself to just take one bite and act normal. But the more I think about it, the harder it gets. He laughed once, bitterly. Then everybody asks what's wrong, which makes it worse. And at my house? He closed his eyes for a second. At your house, it felt rude not to take food. Then once the plate was full, it felt rude to carry it back untouched. And if I wrapped it up, it felt like everyone would know I hadn't eaten. So I did the dumbest possible thing. His voice cracked on that last word. I know what wasting food looks like. My grandma would kill me if she knew. I just panic, and then I try to erase the evidence. There it was. No villain, no master insult. Just panic wearing bad manners like a mask. I grew up poor, I told him. Food waste makes me crazy. I know, he said. Claire told me. That's why I paid at restaurants. I thought if I covered the meals, maybe it would matter less. I actually laughed then, once, through tears I had not planned on shedding in a mechanic's lot. You thought secretly paying would fix secretly not eating? He gave the tiniest smile. It was the best bad idea I had. That nearly undid me. I looked at him and saw what I should have seen much earlier. A decent young man with an impossible habit, trying to survive it quietly. I want you at Christmas, I said. His face changed, but he didn't speak. You can come, I continued, and nobody will put a plate in front of you. Nobody will ask questions. If you want food later, I'll pack it before you leave. Sealed. Clean. No performance. He stared at me for a long moment. Why would you do that? Because I almost lost my daughter. Because I had turned pain into judgment. Because family is not supposed to be a place where people have to perform normal to earn a seat. But what I said was simpler. Because you matter to her, I said. And if this is going to work, then we both need better ideas. He nodded fast and looked away. When he spoke, his voice was rough. Thank you. Christmas Eve felt fragile, like one wrong look could break it. Claire walked in holding a pie, clearly prepared for disaster. Adrian came behind her with a poinsettia and that same careful politeness, except this time there was fear under it. I hugged my daughter first. Then I took the pie from her hands and said, "There's a container in the fridge with your names on it for later. Nobody touches it but you." Claire's eyes filled instantly. Adrian just stood there, stunned. Dinner was weird for the first 10 minutes. Of course it was. My sister kept overcompensating by talking too much. My brother-in-law avoided eye contact like we were in a hostage negotiation. But then something eased. Because Adrian sat with us anyway. No plate, just a glass of water. And for the first time, nobody treated his silence like a problem to solve. We talked about apartments and brake pads and my nephew's terrible new mustache. Claire laughed. Real laughed. The kind I'd been missing. At the end of the night, Adrian helped me carry dishes to the sink. I handed him the packed container. He took it carefully, like it was something breakable. Then he hesitated, reached into the box of dinner rolls, and tore off the smallest piece. One bite, that was all. But it was the first thing I had ever seen him eat in front of another person. He chewed, swallowed, and looked at me with embarrassed, watery eyes. "It's good," he said. This time, I believed him. A few months later, they signed a lease across town. Not far. Close enough for Sunday visits. Our system stayed simple. No pressure. No plate unless he asked. Leftovers packed quietly. Questions kept respectful. He still mostly ate alone. Some wounds don't disappear just because love shows up. But they do get softer when shame has less room to breathe. And me? I learned that not every rude-looking thing comes from disrespect. Sometimes it comes from fear. Sometimes the person across from you isn't rejecting your table. They're fighting a battle you can't see, while trying very hard not to make a mess of your life with it. Funny thing is, that's exactly what they usually do. And if you're lucky, if you stop being offended long enough to listen, you get to find out why.